Yeah. Uh, Good afternoon to everyone. So, students, so in last class, we have covered 6 units of your uh, syllabus of this social and political thought in modern India. So, to refresh back your memory, we had a discussion about uh, Swami Vivekananda and Sri Aurobindo's social and political thought. And today we'll be dealing with, we'll cover uh, 4 units at least, but Unit 7, B.D. Savarkar and M.S. Golwalkar. Unit 8, Muslim thought, Sir Saeed Ahmad Khan, Muhammad Iqbal, Maulana uh, Masdodi, and Muhammad Ali Jinnah. Unit 9, uh, we'll read about the nation and identity concern. E.V. Ramaswamy Naikar, Nazrul Islam, Pandita Ramabai, Jaipal Singh, Kahan Singh. And Unit 10 will learn about the political and philosophy, the ideas of Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi, who is a, who had played a very significant and gigantic role, a very uh, active and pivot role in the national liberation struggle or the freedom struggle of India. Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi, who is popularly known as Mahatma Gandhi or Bapuji, the father of the nation, as called. So, am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay, can you? Okay. So, B.D. Savarkar and as B.D. Savarkar and his social reform, and M.S. Golwalkar and his political ideas and uh, his social uh, reform, I mean social thought and political thought. So, uh, and in detail, in brief, he will come to know about it by uh, going through this chapter. After completion of this chapter, you will be knowing about political career of B.D. Savarkar, Savarkar's view on social change, B.D. Savarkar and social reforms, Hindu nationalism of B.D. Savarkar, Hindutva as cultural nationalism, Hindu nation and Indian state, Hindu nationalism B.D. Savarkar, Mahadev Sadasiv Golwalkar, nation as motherland, territorial nationalism rejected, Hindu nationalism and minorities, Golwalkar on social organization, political ideas of M.S. Golwalkar, three world views of change, negative and positive Hindutva, and Hindu nationalism of M.S. Golwalkar, a critical study. So, is it audible? It's clear, you know. Is it
Yes,
clear
sir.
or okay? So, as you know, we have discussed about B.D. Savarkar, uh, born in 1883, continued hard breathed his last in 1966. He was a charismatic Hindu leader who played a significant role in the freedom struggle of India. For his revolutionary activities, he was sent to jail so many times by the British imperial regime, and uh, Savarkar has two, the ideology of B.D. Savarkar, political ideas and social thought. Political thought of Savarkar was being influenced in two different phases. And Savarkar has his ideological development in two different phases. First phase, his life was influenced by the philosophy of the Italian nationalist Joseph Mazzini, and, and so after being influenced by Joseph Mazzini, Savarkar was uh, greatly influenced and supported the concept of composite Indian nationalism in his second phase. And in first phase was being influenced by Mazzini's thought. Savarkar was also closer proximity to nationalism of Sri Aurobindo and Bal Gangadhar Tilak. So this is one phase of Savarkar's philosophy and ideas was being influenced by Mazzini's thought. In second phase of his career from 1922 to 23, Savarkar became the supporter of Hindu nationalism. After his release from the confinement in 1937, he joined the Hindu Mahasabha and became its president from 1938 to 19. So, dear students, V.D. Savarkar was a product of, remember, Savarkar was a product of the Renaissance in the Western India. And in his early days, he was influenced by the philosophy of Gopal Ganesh Agarkar, a rationalist philosopher. Agarkar was deeply influenced uh, by the ideas of Herbert Spencer, Jeremy Bentham, and John Stuart Mill. So that means indirectly Savarkar was greatly influenced by the political philosophy and ideas of Herbert Spencer, Jeremy Bentham, and John Stuart Mill. Savarkar was a supporter of positivist epistemology, theory of knowledge. Savarkar was a great admirer of the positivist epistemology and accepted the direct evidence of the senses as the only valid source of knowledge. He rejected the sanctity of religious scriptures and maintained that all religious scriptures were man-made and their teaching could not be applied to all societies in all times. He rejected otherworldly philosophy of Sankara and Ramanuja and discounted otherworldly pursuits of man. So, Savarkar's theory of social change, the principle of life, struggle played an principle of life struggle played an important role. For him, reason, science, and technology were important to bring about the change in the society. So, in a greater detail, to speak about the Savarkar's ideas and political thought and social thought, he was more of a reformist. He was dead against the spiritualness, against the blind beliefs, the dogmas, the superstitions, and the unscientific things. And to moreover, he was more inclined to reason, science, and technology. So many say Savarkar was more with the Britishers and the imperial regime rather than Indianness was less. But no, exactly Savarkar was with the Britishers in order to bring a social change in India, and that's why he was closer to the Europe and the British imperial regime on the basis of this in order to remove the superstitions, blind beliefs, and the spiritualness. Rather, he strongly believed on reason, science, and technology, and sought help from the British in this direction in order to bring a great change in Indian society, so that Indian can, and not that Savarkar was a out and out nationalist. He was a great nationalist, and he was seeking help of the British for this in order to bring a social change and to inculcate and instill the scientific temper and technological innovation, technological mindset in the in the Indian people. As I have already told you, Savarkar was a great supporter of social reforms, and he exhorted the Hindus to accept modern practices based on science and reason, and he rejected the religious superstitions and customs, which were standing hindrances to the social progress. As we have already made categorical and clear, due to blind, Savarkar believed uh, that due to blind faith in this scriptural authority, the Hindus became superstitious, fatalist, and credulous. This weakened their desire to know more. They neglected science and technology, as uh, very much cognized by Savarkar. Savarkar was a critic of the caste system. He held the both Chaturvarna and the caste system proved very disastrous for unity of Hindu society. To Savarkar, the disunity in the Hindu society largely prevailed because of the Chaturvarna caste system, and he rejected this, the traditional practices of caste system by out and out, and for the unity and for a composite whole of the Hindu society, Savarkar was promoting for a a more scientific technological society and not a divided society, Hindu society based on Chaturvarna's caste system and all the things. So it came to inhuman. Savarkar believed that this sort of social system, caste system, prevailing practices gave birth to inhuman practices and untouchability, which was the latter. It is not the Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi who for the first time had the untouchability. But you see, the evils of untouchability was very much cognized, and by V.D. Savarkar, and Savarkar was dead against untouchability. He wanted to rescue the dilapidated Hindu society from the scourge of dogma, superstition, and blind beliefs. He wanted to inculcate a scientific vigor, a technological innovation, and a more reason-based society, which for that to bring great change in Indian society. Savarkar was a supporter of cultural nationalism, as I told. He was of the opinion that identity formation was the essence of nationalism. India had received such identity from the Hindu religion. This identity was evolved for a long period of time. Despite having outer differences, the Hindus were internally bound together by cultural, religious, social, linguistic, and historical affinities. So remember, Savarkar was is an advocate of cultural nationalism and the Hindutva and the Hindu society, and it was based on the nationalism is based on the Hindus nationalism is based on its cultural edifice, which which Savarkar recognized their cultural, religious, social, linguistic, and historical affinities binded the Hindu people to have it's a very strengthened and a very prominent nationalism which he wanted that to recognize as its cultural nationalism. Hindu nation to be strong and powerful so that India could survive as an independent, strong nation in the ferocious life struggle that was going on between different countries of the world. He held that in the modern times, nation had been recognized as the only viable political entity, and all the societies of the world had been organized on the basis of the nation. For Savarkar, Hindus as a community formed a nation. So it is clear that Savarkar's uh, philosophy Hindu society, social reforms, and his cultural nationalism, concept of cultural nationalism is prominently, very vigorously speaks about the Savarkar as a out and out nationalist, humanist, a rationalist, and a reformer. Savarkar was a first Indian thinker who declared that Hindus formed a separate nation in India. He stood for a strong Hindu nation which would withstand and survive ferocious life struggle among the nations. He sought to popularize the Hindu nationalism throughout his life with the help of the Hindu Mahasabha. So, in order to popularize the cultural ethos of the Hindu society, the cultural nationalism of Hindus, and he took shelter and he worked vehemently, worked day in and out within the structure gambit of the Hindu Mahasabha. So, uh, and Savarkar's this Hindu Mahasabha, the auspicious of Hindu Mahasabha, Savarkar also had, that led to the germination of the also Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh, and Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh was founded by Dr. Kesav Baliram Hejua in 1925 to protect the interest of the Hindu. Dr. Hejua was a follower of the Lokmanya Tilak, and in his young days, he had contacts with some armed revolutionaries of the Kolkata. And so this is, Savarkar's radical philosophy and his reformist philosophy, the rationalist philosophy, scientific philosophy, and his technology based on technology also. So he wanted in order to consolidate, in order to have a strong Hinduism, Hindu society, Savarkar first wanted social reforms in India and on the basis of science and scientific and technological basis. Is it clear to all of you? Is it clear to all of you?
Yes, sir. Yes,
No.
sir.
Okay. And so, because we have very little time to cover up many things, and as I have already told you, my phone number, my cell number is with you. You can ask questions of your doubt. You can ask your doubt, and what questions also we'll discuss in the next class. I think, are you aware of that? The last class was shifted to May 7, I think. Have you
Yes,
received any mail? Have you
ହଁ
received any mail
ସାର୍
from
ମେଲ୍ ତ
IGNO?
ନାଇଁ ସାର୍ ସିଡ୍ୟୁଲ୍ ଆସିଛି ସେଟା ଲେକିନ୍ ସାର୍ 7ଟାରୁ 9ଟା ଅଛି ଦେଖଉଛି।
ହଁ ଠିକ୍ ଅଛି, ହଁ ମୁଁ ତାଙ୍କୁ ସେ କହିଲେ ଯେହେତୁ ଆଉ ଟାଇମ୍ ଆଭେଲେବୁଲ୍ ନାହିଁ, ଟାଇମ୍ ସ୍ଲଟ୍, ତେଣୁକରି ଆଉ ଜଣେ ଡକ୍ଟର ମାନସ ବେହେରାଙ୍କର ହେଉଛି 5ଟାରୁ 7ଟା, ତାପରେ ସେ ଟାଇମ୍ ସ୍ଲଟ୍ଟା, କାରଣ ଲାଷ୍ଟ କ୍ଲାସ୍ଟା ମୁଁ ଟିକେ ବ୍ୟସ୍ତ ଥିଲି +2 ଏକ୍ଜାମ୍ ପାଇଁ, ଆଣ୍ଡ ଆଇ ୱାଜ୍ ଚିଫ୍ ଅଫ୍ ଏକ୍ଜାମିନର। So ମୁଁ ତାଙ୍କୁ ଟିକେ ରିକ୍ୱେଷ୍ଟ କରିବାରୁ ସେ କହିଲେ ନାହିଁ ସେଟା ଆମେ only available that is. So you people are comfortable with that time? Will you not face any problem?
No, sir.
Then, yeah. Then Hindu nationalism is of Madhav Sadasiv Golwalkar. As I have already told you, I have written a chapter on Madhav Sadasiv Golwalkar for the Delhi University undergraduate and postgraduate students in an edited volume published by, that Rutledge. Rutledge and
ସାର୍
Orient. Yeah,
ସାର୍ ହ୍ୟାଲୋ
yeah, please.
ସାର୍ ସେଟା 4 ତାରିଖ ଦେଖଉଛି, 4 ତାରିଖ ଅଛି।
May 4.
ହଁ ହଁ ସାର୍।
Okay, no issue. I was told 7. It's all right. I'll get it confirmed from the dealing assistant of IGNO. That Tapan, one Tapan is there who is coordinating the entire things. He only told me, and I'll get it clarified, confirmed. No issue.
ଠିକ ଅଛି
So
ସାର୍।
Hindu nationalism of MS Golwalkar, Madhav Sadasiv Golwalkar, and the Hindu nationalism of MS Golwalkar was different from that of V.D. Savarkar in the sense that Golwalkar's theory of nationalism was based on Indian spiritualism. Savarkar was a modernist and he had not opposed westernization. As I told you, recall back, to recapitulate to your memory, I had told you 100 times that Savarkar was more a rationalist, westernized, and Western orientation with Western orientation, and he supported the Western ideas, Western political thought, philosophy because of his scientific and technological orientation. But the difference between M.S. Madhav Sadasiv Golwalkar and B.D. Savarkar, yeah, the difference between Madhav Sadasiv Golwalkar and B.D. Savarkar, that one is Golwalkar was more of, you know, with the Indian spiritualism, basing, believed on Indian spiritualism. On the other side, B.D. Savarkar was more of a modernist, and did not oppose the westernization. Whereas Golwalkar opposed westernization and also Pandit Nehru's westernized political thought also. But Golwalkar was a supporter of a Hindu culture and opposed the Western way of life, as I have told. He, had, he held that the Indian spiritualism was superior to the Western materialism. Remember, Savarkar Savarkar did not oppose Western materialism, whereas Golwalkar strongly opposed Western materialism. Instead, believed in Indian spiritualism. That's the basic difference. Uh, to M.S. Golwalkar, all Hindus were bound together by same religion, same language, and same culture. Golwalkar pointed out that the existence of contiguous territory was the first element of nationalist. The second element of nationalist was the characteristics of the people who inhabited the territory. So that is uh, the people of India who inhabited the land for generation after generation, they are the bona fide members of that community and society, and they are the owner of the land, and they possesses, and the nationhood, their nation, the Hindu Rashtra was their nation, and the philosophy based on their cultural ethos is their nationalism. M.S. Golwalkar was a supporter of the cultural nationalism, as I have told. Since and he defined his nationalism in the light of cultural tradition of the Hindus, and he rejected Nehruvian thought of territorial nationalism. He rejected the concept of territorial nationalism as humbug. He held that an assertment of people having different cultures and languages could not become a nation simply because they resided in a particular territory. So a nation could be, to Golwalkar, a nation could be possible only when the people have a cultural ethos and bond and inhabiting in that land for generation to generation. In a territorial nationhood, as propounded by accepted by Pandit Nehru and many other westernized Indian political thinkers, Golwalkar opposed that they are the territorial nationalism lacked the life, blood, and living spring of culture. According to Golwalkar, it was the cultural affinity and common historical tradition that bound the people together and made them one mind and one body. And with regard to uh, Hindu nationalism and the minorities, Golwalkar had a very clear and categorical, perception. Golwalkar rejected the concept of the Indian or territorial nationalism as a reality. He claimed that due to certain historical and cultural factors, Hindus in India constituted a nation and they considered India as their motherland. But as far as other religious communities in India were concerned, they did not consider India as their motherland or holy land. So this is clear and remember, this is clear and categorical. That is why many people, many scholars, many critics have criticized Golwalkar as the head guru. But he was very much categorical, clear in his perception of advocating the cultural nationalism of India, and he rejected the territorial nationalism and considered other religious communities as not as like as the Indian people, the Hindu people, as they and they cannot have the same cultural ethos and affinity towards their motherland. M.S. Golwalkar was a supporter of a Hindu way of life, and looking from that perspective, he found that most of the criticism leveled against the ancient Indian Varna system were baseless. See, the Chaturvarna system, which was rejected and being criticized by Savarkar, was glorified and well accepted by M.S. Golwalkar. Their perception and concept of nationalism differed in this way. Uh, Golwalkar's political ideas with regard, uh, he is of the view that Indian perspective of nationalism and politics was essentially spiritual, hence Indians stood for peace and non-violence. But in the changed condition, Hindus should acquire strength of arms, including atom bombs, to safeguard their national interest. You see, Golwalkar also that time was also heard, thought of that is, national integrity, solidarity, and security also. And he also advocated for, he believed in Indians, in order to strengthen the cultural nationalism and the motherland of India, the Indians, the Hindus should have their atom bomb and nuclear device so that they can protect their motherland, holy land, from the scourge of external aggression. So after this is all about you know and if you go for a critical postmortem analysis of Savarkar Golwalkar's thought, as both of them though considered you know both of them though considered as philosopher of the Hindutva, but they were they have a demarcating line of one believing in scientific nationalism of India, the other spiritual nationalism. But Savarkar did not support the spiritual nationalism. Sorry, support the culture. Spiritual nationalism. But uh, Golwalkar supported, advocated for the cultural nationalism in India backed by spiritualness. And this is, and the critics, as I have already told, the scholars and critics, they criticize so Golwalkar as a head guru, as he has his philosophy is not all embracing. His philosophy was more parochial. His philosophy was religious centric. His philosophy was confined to the Hindu communities, and he was against a modern Indian perception and modern Indian outlook of the territorial nationalism. But Golwalkar, remember, once again underline, Golwalkar rejected territorial nationalism because and branding it a lifeless and no, and lifeless as it lacked bonding and also affinity. So, in order to have a nation, the primordial concept, element of to for a nation to be strengthened and cultural ethos religious affinity is essentially required. So in questions, you can also, there will be question uh, uh, discuss briefly about the emergence of politics of Hindutva in India. Uh, and examine Savarkar's, critically examine Savarkar's theory of nationalism and discuss Savarkar's theory of social change. ଆଉ ଗୋଟେ question ବି ଆସିପାରେ, what according to Savarkar is the role of social reforms in strengthening the Hindu nation? We have discussed it. We have discussed it. Examine briefly Golwalkar's ideas of Hindu nationalism and cultural nationalism. Hindu nationalism and cultural nationalism. What advice did Golwalkar give to the religious minorities in India for in order to be part of the Indian nation and Indian national? So these are very important things to note and remember. Then unit 8, we will discuss about Muslim thought. Sir Said Ahmad Khan, we have discussed in the previous classes, not in a greater detail, in French. Muhammad Iqbal, Maulana Maududi, and Muhammad Ali Jinnah. So Sir Said Ahmad Khan was one of the most formidable figures in the late 19th century India. He emerged as on the Indian scene as one of the greatest reformers, educationists, and modernizer within the Muslim community. Being born on 17th October 1817, Sir Said Ahmad uh, was greatly influenced by the political force which was gaining ground. That of the Mughals was one of the good as gone. The political force which was gaining ground was that of the British. And being a rationalist, a humanist, educationist, and modernist, Sir Said Ahmad Khan was closer to the Britishers in order to in order to materialize his vision of modernity, vision of reform, vision of thought, social and political thought. And I remember uh, Sir Said Ahmad Khan was in service in the British company, in the British imperial government at the age of 21, despite opposition from his community side. And he served the British imperial regime uh, in different capacities as a employee. And Sir Said Ahmad, having seen the revolt and subsequently brutal suppression by the British, was convinced that the British were too powerful and any attempt to resist them might not be fruitful at all. From this time onwards, the British started suspecting the Muslims at last, at large, as they were violently opposed to them. So Sir Said Ahmad, uh, while serving in the British company, he was also very meticulously, planning how to, you know, uh, work for the Indian interest, the interest of the people of India being inside the, and he tried to understand all the dynamics and the ruthless oppression of the British and the Indian, national movements. And so, Sir Said Ahmad convinced that in order to stem the declining fortunes of the Muslims, and he was also did a lot of things for the Muslim community and Muslim society in the greater Allah. And he wanted to improve the conditions of life within the Muslim society, and for that he also uh, took some very specific interest for in order to improve the conditions of life and situation in the Muslim community. Sir Said Ahmad did not have any conception of bringing religious community together for certain political action. On the contrary, he maintained that these communities would have distinct political opinion separate from each other. This was the driving force which made him argue that the Indian National Congress was not in the best interest of the community of Muslims. And remember, Said Ahmad was more parochial, and his focus was more of the improving the situation of the Britishers, situation of his own Muslim communities instead. And for that, and he also, uh, you know, uh, he also said, he also recognized Congress as not good for the Muslim community. Uh, Uh, he argued that keeping in view of kinds of social differences that exist in the Indian society, he would be it would be imprudent to introduce the principles of election. And Said Ahmad Khan also opposing the election began and the by recognizing and very much cognizing, pointing out the flaws in Indian society, and he was so right. He betrayed certain elite bias. Sir Said Ahmad betrayed certain elite bias. He himself was nominated to the Imperial Legislative Council in Imperial Legislative Council. Sir Said Ahmad was more uh, prone to serve the interest of the Muslims, and and he was also very much critical of the Congress in Congress, and could witness the Congress all pervasiveness and embracing ideas that were spoken about the Muslims community. Hello, and some technical glitches, some phone calls is disturbing frequently. So next, after Sir Said Ahmad, after Sir Said Ahmad was not preaching any hatred between communities. One remember one good thing, though he was inclined to the Muslim communities, but he was not preaching any hatred between the religious communities like the Hindus, Muslims, and like. However, his major concern were to promote the interest of, as I have told you since the beginning, without preaching hatred among the communities, he was more inclined to best serve the interest of his own community, the Muslim communities. Muhammad Iqbal. Muhammad Iqbal, born in 1876 and died, breathed his last, 1938, is commonly referred as a Allama Iqbal for the reason that he was considered as one of the important intellectuals among the Muslims in the first half of the 20th century. Even though he is widely known for his Urdu and Persian poetry, he was a practitioner of the politics as well. See, apart from a poet par excellence, Muhammad Iqbal was deeply involved in politics also of the national freedom struggle against the British imperialism. He started his career as a poet rather early in life, who later on acquired immense maturity. He is one of the few Urdu poets whose compositions require prior initiation for better comprehension. However, in his sanction, however, will he very much he is very much cognized, accepted for his social, cultural, and political worldview than his poetry. Beyond doubt, he was a poet par excellence, and in Urdu and Persian poems, composing very you know lucid Urdu and Persian poetry, and he was more of a fighter and was opposing the British imperial regime and for the liberation of India. And in that, through poem also, he has composed many things, poems which has also revolutionized also the people to for their motherland. Muhammad Iqbal visited Europe and and though visited Europe, but opposing the Britishers for his deeds, and because of his, also known for his opposing the Britishers, and a great patriot also. His famous song, "Sare Jahan se acha Hindustan hamara." You see, Muhammad Iqbal's is a very sensitive, emotional song. "Sare Jahan se acha Hindustan hamara" was the ultimate tribute to his countrymen to give up petty-mindedness and develop broader visions and perspective about the corporate life as Indians. So Muhammad Iqbal was a great patriot, a great reformist, and a great poet par excellence. But apart from being eloquent, poet, a poet par excellence, he was more of a great fighter, was serving the Indian for his Indianness. And, and his song is epitomized in the annals of Indian history and throughout the national freedom struggle. Sare Jahan se acha. That means it well speaks voluminously about Muhammad Iqbal's sense of patriotism, the devotion, the Indianness, and his love for the mother. Uh, while Muhammad Iqbal had his one step firmly rooted in the poetry and philosophy, his second step gradually started setting into the world of politics as well. He had become familiar with the Muslim League propagation of the demand for separate electorates while he was still in England in 1906. After his return to India in 1908, he joined the Provincial Muslim League in Punjab. From this time onwards, Iqbal's concern remained only with the promotion of the Muslims. Yeah, one good thing after returning from Europe, Iqbal's also more dedicated himself towards the buttressing and supporting the cause of his Muslim community, though, but his early thought was more of a integrated one and a common Indian, pan-Indian sense. However, it is to be noted here that Iqbal did not maintain consistency in his formulations of the questions of nationalism. Here, no consistency. One, a particular continuous perception and advocacy on the concept of nationalism. In March 1933, he remarked that nationalism implied certain race consciousness, which was against the grain of his conviction. He argued that if such a consciousness was allowed to take place in the Asian context, it was received for some kind of disaster. Again in 1938, he argued that it was not the national unity but human brotherhood alone was the unifying force for the mankind, since such a thing would be above the consideration of race, color, language, and nationality. Remember, there was no consistent, you know, perception, consistent approach of the concept of nationalism as Muhammad Iqbal. In the, but ultimately he talked about, no particular religion, race could have a, strengthened a concept of nationalism. So he was thinking of nationalism in his latter part of the stage life. He advocated for a very, nationalism based on an integral whole, and uh, and uh, Iqbal's participation in the contemporary political process was full of contradiction and inconsistencies. So here, no continuous, a very clear and categorical reference to the concept of. And in a different time conjuncture of his life, he has subscribed to different, ideas on the concept of nationalism and, and advocated for different notion of nationalism. So hence it is called, critics said, Muhammad Iqbal had no consistency and rather more contradictory in his ideas, and it is full of confusion. So he has no clarity about the concept of and his political ideas. Maulana Maududi and uh, Muhammad Ali Jinnah. Uh, Maulana Maududi worldview as regards of Muslim being a part of the territorial nationalism or distinct from it. And Maududi believed in, as he discussed, the point that in the early years he strongly believed in the composite territorial nationalism, but from this time onwards, he seemed to have undergone ideological transformation and Islamic national. Rather, he subscribed to, like Iqbal, Muhammad Iqbal, Muhammad Maududi also prescribed no consistency and no context. He had a different changing dimensions of the concept of nationalism, and latter part of his ideas more inclined to the promotion and regeneration and also promoting the Muslims' identity and community. Muhammad Ali Jinnah. Muhammad Ali Jinnah, a highly westernized and Western Western educated and is has a distinctive identity in the annals of Indian freedom struggle as a founder of Pakistan after seeking the partition of India 14th August 1947. It was argued that All India Muslim League and Muhammad Ali Jinnah in March 1940 that Indian Muslims were not only just a religious community seeking certain constitutional arrangements which would ensure better and secure future of the Muslims of India, but also to make it a distinct nation. So since 1940, March 1940, the Indian Muslim League and Muhammad Ali Jinnah were kept on demanding the Britishers about the separate Muslim statehood for the statehood for the Muslims. Just like Said Ahmad Khan, Jinnah was also keen to work for the well-being of the Muslims. His concern for the Muslim was not meant to be at the cost of the Hindu-Muslim unity. As a matter of fact, it is important to note that still the election 1937, he believed that both the communities must join hands to remain strong in order to overcome the difficulties placed on the Indians by the British government. See, till 1937 election, Muhammad Ali Jinnah supported a Hindu-Muslim unit. And you see, in the Lucknow Pact of 1916, of the some seat sharing formula between the Hindu and Muslims, Muslims gained better advantage, and was well structured and planned out by Jinnah. Jinnah was one of the many leaders who did not approve of mixing religious with politics. Though Western educated, Jinnah was more of kind non-cooperation, opposing the non-cooperation Khilafat movement. He did not approve of religion being pressed in the service of politics. He was being a Western educated. Jinnah wanted to separate his religion from this political goal. And in its opposition to the Congress, remember, in early life, he was more of critical of the Nehrus, and also, though he was supporting to some extent to Gandhiji, but Gandhi was also inclined to add a separate, specific, acceptance of Jinnah's ideas. And but Jinnah was more of opposing Congress, more of opposing the Congress, and his ideas were describing the Muslims of India not as a religious community or a minority in a Hindu majority country, but a distinct nation. So very beginning within the Congress structure and Muslim League formation, Jinnah always identified the Muslims as a distinct nation. As I have told, and this two-nation theory of Muhammad Ali Jinnah was echoed much from March 1940, which, the resolution adopted in the Muslim League of 23rd March 1940, propounded by Jinnah. The two-nation theory resolution was well accepted by the Muslim League, and this resolution said Muslims of India, on account of their religious, cultural, and historical distinctiveness, in contrast with the Hindus, constituted a nation into themselves. So Jinnah reiterated this position on all occasions and from all platforms. From this time onwards, the Muslim League, under the Jinnah's leadership, demanded a separate nationhood for the Muslims, and that is two-nation theories became well echoed within the Imperial Legislative Council and Imperial Legislature, and but echoed in the British Parliament too, and that is ultimately Pakistan's separation of India and Pakistan was accepted by the British. And it is because of the pioneering and instrumental role and in a very vigorous and two-nation theory. Yeah, here you can remember, one important question: the Islamic nationhood and geographical nationalism, as Maulana Maududi argued, are two distinct identities. Explain or briefly analyze another question. Critically analyze Muhammad Ali Jinnah's contribution to the two-nation theory and the nationhood on basis of the religion as a separate identity. Summarize another question. Summarize Muhammad Iqbal's ideas on nationalism and his contribution to the Muslim thought. And Unit 9, Nation and Identity Concern. E.V. Ramaswamy Naikar, Nazirul Islam, Pandit Ramabai, Jaipal Singh, Kahan Singh. See, in this unit, you will know about E.V. Ramaswamy Naikar, a critic of Hinduism and Brahminical domination. Naikar is a critic of Congress and Mahatma Gandhi. Naikar's discourse on national identity, nation identity of a nation, and Naikar's attempt for Dravidian mobilization. The South Indian, Tamil and the South Indian front, Dravidian mobilization. Pandit Ramabai, his ideas, his life, and her fight against patriarchy, Hinduism and Christianity. Jaipal Singh's pioneer and instrumental role in championing and buttressing the cause of Adivasi identity. Qazi Nazirul Islam, a revolutionary poet on Hindu-Muslim issue. Kahan Singh's criticism of the Hindu society and Hinduism. So this unit is very important. We have not much time to go one by another, but I'll be telling you various Ramaswamy, E.V. Ramaswamy Naikar, ba Ramaswamy Periyar. His concept, negative perception of Hinduism and Brahmins need to be analyzed in the socio-political context of Tamil Nadu. Like his other counterparts, Ramaswamy believed Brahmins enjoying a dominant position in the Hindu scriptures and rituals. So he rejected Hinduism as a tool of Brahminical domination and the Brahminical optimized Hindu arrogance and perpetrated social injustice. So Naikar, Ramaswamy, E.V. Ramaswamy Naikar, in order to, separate nation, mobilize, had a very strong advocate of Dravidian mobilization in the real sense of the term, cannot and shall not be a Hindu. Naikar convinced Hinduism perpetuated casteism must be rejected. See, E.V. Ramaswamy Periyar was dead against the Brahminical social order, Brahminical hegemony in Hindu society, in Indian society, and he rejected, rather he consolidated and mobilized the Dravidians of South India to have a different national identity. So as Naikar conceived the Dravidian community primarily in terms of coalition of mega castes, the non-Brahmin Hindu caste of Tamil Nadu, and he mobilized them, and under the Congress Minister of C. Rajgopalachari in 1937, Hindi was introduced to the South as a compulsory subject in school. Taking it as an affront to Tamil culture and its rich literary tradition, Naikar waved black flags of rebellion in his first anti-Hindi campaign. Remember, Naikar not only was against the Hindu Brahminical social order, he was against the Hindi language also. And he mobilized the Dravidians not to introduce Hindi as a subject, compulsory subject throughout the South India. So his movement enhanced the prestige of his anti-Hindu movement, and could not, although could not be any more longer be considered as handmaiden of the British. It was more of Justice Party later on created that carried on the movement of Naikars, anti-Hindu and anti Brahminical social order and a faith, and died on in 1922, was a great Indian woman of modern India. Exceptionally learned, Ramabai, an outspoken champion of women rights and social reforms, and the unique distinction of being the sole woman representative in the male-dominated world of gender reforms. Pandita Ramabai was not a first woman revolutionary, a social revolutionary who called a clarion call, who went for a clarion call, gave a clarion call, mobilizing the women community against all sort of male patriarchy, patriarchal social order, and a patriarchal hegemony of Indian society and a gender biased society. She created awareness among the women community with a missionary zeal to rescue the women of India from the scourge of oppression, subjugation, bondage, and subordination. Ramabai, uh, father, Ananta Shastri Dongre, a Chitpavan Brahmin, a non-conformist, invited the heir of his powerful conservative community, Britain, when he decided to teach Sanskrit to his wife, which was regarded heretical. Sanskrit, the divine language, was later reserved for the upper caste men. And Ramabai opposed it. Ramabai's reading of Dharma Shastra made her deeply conscious of the contempt of with which women of all castes and men of the lower caste were treated in these texts. Yeah, Ramabai, when he returned to Maharashtra after his other confinements, experienced her first public encounter with the forces of patriarchy when she set up the Arya Mahila Samaj in 1882 in the Pune to mobilize women and aroused instant hostility. She brought out a book in Marathi, Stri Dharma Niti, Morals for Women. And Ramabai encountered the patriarchy of the Anglican Church across the globe. Not only Hindu patriarch, the, the Western, the Christian patriarchs also. He encountered severe challenge in his mission, you know, in his against the established dominant patriarchy for liberation and emancipation and of the women community of India. And as you know, I have also told you Jaipal Singh, a multifaceted personality, a distinguished parliamentarian, a champion sportsman, an educationist, a powerful orator, and above all, a leader of the Adivasis. Jaipal Singh has a very pioneering instrumental role in raising the life, raising the issue of, uplifting the status and standard of the tribals and the Adivasis. The Adivasi movement stands primarily for the moral and material advancement of, with the Chotnagpur and Santal Parganas, which was a handy, the brainchild of Jaipal Singh. And Jaipal uh, played a very gigantic role in consolidating and mobilizing the tribals, and later on a tribal movement had a clarity and a clear vision under his stewardship and he championed the movement. Championing the Adivasi identity, Jaipal Singh has a very significant contribution, and he countered this dominant view, participating in the debates in the draft constitution of 24th August 1949. Jaipal Singh delivered an important speech on Adivasi identity. He raised the existence of tribal community in India. He emphasized that the tribal people were the true and original inhabitants of India. See, and he claimed for the whole of India. And he claimed the Adivasi has a very pivot role, played a pivot role in the national liberation struggle of India. Hence, they should be given a special birth, and the reservation for scheduled tribe, remember, has a specific arrangement in the Indian Constitution. Jaipal argued Adivasi society always emphasized on equality and democracy. Adivasi society was the most democratic element in this country, and hence they have a special claim to be integral part of India and should have they have some startup. Qazi Nazrul Islam and a rebel poet, and also took an active part through his writings on Swadeshi and Khilafat movement. He had to undergo rigorous imprisonment for a year for his writings Andamoya Agamani, which was appeared in Dhumaketu, Rabindranath Tagore's called Nazrul Dhumketu. The comment for Mahatma Gandhi, Nazrul poem was the song of the spinning wheels, and Nazrul was the ultimate spirit of the spinning wheel, and freedom ran through his vein. And Qazi Nazrul was also a very great patriot, and his poems are so revolutionizing in nature that instill a sense of patriotism and a vigorousness among the Indians to fight against the British Empire. And this is, so in this unit, we learned about these political thinkers analyzing the socio-political milieu of colonial India, brought different identity to the political domain. Naikar focused on a Dravidian identity and culture. Ramabai's struggle was against the patriarchal social order and for liberation of the women, Hinduism and the Christianity. Jaipal Singh championed the cause of the Adivasis. Nazrul protested against artificial division of Hindus and Muslims on basis of constructed symbols, and Kahan Singh sharpened the distinct Sikh identity. Manifestation of these specific identities sharpen our understanding of the colonial India as well as post-colonial India. And questions in this regard, while write a note on Naikar's Dravidian movement in Tamil Nadu. Explain Pandit Ramabai's contribution to women emancipation and liberation and rise of their status in Indian society. And Joypal as a charioteer of the Adivasi movement for the specific identity of Adivasis in Indian soil, critically examined. Nazrul's Islam, contribution to the growth of nationalism in India, critically examined. And now, hence, you have Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi. And you see, I will not go to history since M.K. Gandhi, you have been reading since your, a very elementary level. And when he was born and was his movements, all things. But Gandhi's see the philosophical foundation and political landscape of Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi, and his views on man, human nature, and society are in consonance with his philosophical outlook and reflect his convictions regarding morality and ethical pursuit of life. Gandhiji's concept of, he has a two different. Gandhi as a barrister, a lawyer in South Africa, and Gandhiji inside the Indian national struggle, under the umbrella of the Congress, and his concept of politics, his relation between religious and politics, his ideas on, between Gandhi's concept and his ideas, relation between means and ends, his concept of satyagraha and ahimsa, and principle non-violence, concept of Swaraj, and 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 his views on parliamentary democracy, and his ideas of indigenous economy, or Gandhi's ideas on gram development from the below, gram Swaraj, the concept is ultimate democracy. The ultimate democracy is gram Swaraj, and village democracy is other alternative constitution. His concept of Sarvodaya, theory of trusteeship, uh, uh, and Gandhiji has a brief idea on the concept of Swadeshi. His concept of Swadeshi, which also worked, contributed immensely in the entire, entire phase of freedom struggle in India. So, I think, yeah. So, question in this concept, and listen, if you look at Gandhi's entire political, social, and philosophy, and his concept and his ideas and his contribution to the freedom struggle, he has a remarkable consistency and continuity in the political ideas. Gandhi considered man as embodying his outlook, Gandhi's essence of Gandhi's political philosophy, his ideas of man and nature. He considered man as embodying the spiritual principles in him, which is divine. His self-realization is the prime task of every man and woman. While man is not perfect and desires and mundane, interests constantly pitch themselves as his prime wants. He was an innate disposition to seek his spiritual realization. If the spiritual nature of man was to be privileged, then man's priority have been to be ordered accordingly. While Gandhiji believed in his own religion and thought highly of it, he had equal respect for all other religions, considered all of them as true but not without shortcomings. He considered that ends and means are integral to each other. He did not subscribe to the idea that good ends justifies appropriate means. He applied these principles to the pursuit of truth as well, which is considered as good himself, God himself. Truth as end and non-violence as the means. So twins, uh, means and Gandhi's means and ends, means justifying end, means and ends theory is very much thus, and for the in order to have truth, the means is adopted and advocated for non-violence as the only means which can ultimately decide premised upon the truth. Gandhiji, while appreciating the need of power in the absence of fully self-regulated and self-directed order, he called Swaraj as the political power can be the only end, can be the only end. Gandhiji served the means to serve the people, especially the poor, through Swaraj. Its primary purpose is to enable people to be themselves and to establish conducive condition for the purpose. Gandhiji saw democracy as an art and science of mobilizing the entire physical, economic, and spiritual resources of all the various sections of the people in service of the common good of all. It cannot come about by untruth and violence. Gandhi considered capitalism, communism, and socialism as socio-political systems that do not recognize adequately the freedom, equality, and dignity of the individual. Remember, Gandhi had no, acceptance of the capitalist, the Western world capitalist doctrine, the socialist, the communism and socialism as ideology to as ideology and ideas practice for attainment of freedom, equality, and dignity of individual. He rather preferred for the Indianized way of attainment of freedom, equality, and dignity of individual within the structure. He advocated the principle of Sarvodaya. Gandhi's concept of Sarvodaya, the rise of all, Sarvodaya, the rise of all, which rejected the utilitarian concept of greatest good of the greatest number, utilitarian, greatest good of the greatest number, and other Western practice of equality and freedom. He rather propagated, advocated for Swadeshi as the only solution. Swaraj, Sarvodaya, Sarvodaya as the only solution for attainment of freedom, equality, and dignity of individual in person manner. And Gandhiji uh, was more inclined to attainment of equality and rise of for the rise of everyone, which is he characterized as the Sarvodaya, as the Sarva later on, Vinoba, Acharya Vinobaba and others carried out the Sarvodaya movement to the uplifting the standards and life conditions of the people at the bottom, at the countryside. So let us think of the downtrodden. Let us think of the countryside people, and let us think of everyone in society. And the Sarvodaya means that is rise of all in society, not a particular segments, particular community of people to rise above the standard. Gandhi rejected the concept of homo economicus, which modern economics and civilization is best. Gandhian economics focuses on meeting the basic needs of all through self-employment. This is possible only if the wants are minimized and they are placed in perspective with the essential striving of man. So Gandhi did not appreciate the Western economic uh, model of development or economies. He rather indigenous, the village economy, self-sufficient, you know, self-sufficient economy. He rather propagated and advocated for, and for that he advocated that the human wants to be minimized instead of unlimited. But unlimited ones cannot be fortified or can be satiable, and for that the Western economic paradigm speaks about satisfying the unlimited human want. But Gandhian economy wants particular human wants, and minimize human wants could be satisfied by using the indigenous economic model, practicing the system. For that, in order to, Gandhi believed for the economic growth, and in order to oh, have a development, economic development of the masses, everyone, Gandhi believed that a trusteeship concept of introduced the concept of trusteeship, which he believed this only can ensure creativity and initiative freedom, while at the same time can ensure equal distribution of goods. Gandhi stood for village-based decentralized system of governance, as I have already told. He wanted to see villagers as self-governing republics. Uh, Villagers as self-governing republics, and Gandhi stood for, today we are talking of democratic decentralization. This, power to the people at the bottom level. This was very much envisioned by Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi in the British, during the making of Indian Constitution. And the Panchayat Raj today, the village democracy is the visionary ideas of Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi, who envisioned for a religious, envisioned for a decentralized India, and through village republic to self-governing republics at the bottom level. Gandhiji defended Swadeshi, wherein all the basic needs of citizens can be met totally. Gandhi, not sure. You see, Subhash Chandra Bose rejected the political ideas of Gandhi. You have the Bhagat Singh did not took the moderate path of Gandhiji's non-violence. So politically also Gandhi encountered hostility, encountered opposition within the Congress structure. Because you see, within the Congress structure, that is why Gandhiji had a politics of leadership within the Patabi Sitaramaya fitting against Subhash Chandra Bose. So here differentiation of political ideas within the Congress system, and but over and above, over and above, Gandhiji did not deter him. Over and above the opposition, contradictions, and you know, you know, you know, rejection of Gandhi's ideas by his many of his counterparts did not deter him from holding fast to his ideas and formulate his practices accordingly. So Gandhiji has a unique, uh, uh, you know, I, he has a very clear and uh, very clear and categorical reference for his political ideas, his concepts and practices he used, and uh, he is uh, uh, relentless. His relentless and continuing struggle against mobilizing the Indian masses through in a barefoot also, and he was apart over and above, besides criticism, Gandhi had a very vigorous mobilization campaign and mobilization of the masses of India and to free India, which made him to attain liberation freedom at any cost, and which in Quit India he uh, had a different perception of attainment of liberation, which he spelled out, do or die. कैसे ही हमको आज़ादी चाहिए. We have to attain independence at any cost. करो और मरो. So that means this is a clarion call. Oh, being the apostle of peace, a harbinger of non-violence, and and his concepts, political ideas, you will have a better understanding of that. And uh, and question on Gandhi's, if you will, 3 4 questions you will be telling, as I have already during the course of my, analysis, discussion, I have told that uh, Gandhiji as a political foundation. Can any of you tell me which literature work influenced Gandhiji, and who is the philosopher that influenced Gandhiji great immensely? କେତେ କହିପାରିବେ କି ଗାନ୍ଧୀଜୀଙ୍କର କୋଉ ମାନେ ଲିଟରେଚର କୋଉ ରାଇଟିଂସ୍ ଗାନ୍ଧୀକୁ ବେଶୀ ଇନଫ୍ଲୁଏନ୍ସ କରିଥିଲା, କୋଉ ପର୍ସନାଲିଟି ଫିଲୋସୋଫର ଗାନ୍ଧୀକୁ ବେଶୀ ଇନଫ୍ଲୁଏନ୍ସ କରିଥିଲା?
Sir, Leo Tolstoy.
Yeah,
Leo Tolstoy.
Leo Tolstoy. And the literature, which literature he was greatly, his political foundation. While, see, you are right. Gandhiji, being a deeply religious man, perceived shaped his politics, economic ideas, the views on society, and he is clear when Gandhiji's philosophy was profound engagement with the modernity and its pitfalls. And he was immensely uh, and his philosophical foundation, political thinking was greatly premised upon his understanding and practices, suggestions on the in the conflicting and contemporary realities of Indian society. You see, in his notable writings, an autobiography, his My Experiment with the Truth, and the collected works of Mahatma Gandhi, Panchayati Raj Satyagraha in South Africa, Sarvodaya and Hind Swaraj. So these are very, nothing a new sort of, he made it clear, nothing as such his he was greatly, his philosophy is greatly Ruskin, Thoreau, Swami Vivekananda, Gokhale, and Tilak too. And the Western, Leo Tolstoy and Ruskin of the Western world, though influenced immensely the political, social, and philosophical outlook of Gandhiji from the and to great extent, Tolstoy's Gospels in What to Do, the kingdom of God is within you. Tolstoy's Hidden Island Treasure, Tolstoy's Hidden Island Treasure work, great treaty, the Gospels in brief, what to do, the kingdom of God is within you. Ruskin's onto this last, Ruskin's epitomized work onto this last. Thoreau's essay on civil disobedience. Besides these three great thinkers from abroad, from the Indian side, the Indian thinkers who greatly influenced Mohandas Gandhi were Swami Vivekananda, B.G. Gokhale, and Bal Gangadhar Tilak. Sorry, G.G. Gokhale and B.G. Tilak. Bal Gangadhar Tilak Gokhale. So, while his writings and he himself he practiced from the ground, from the Indian situation, the from the Indianized, the very perception. Ground perception. Okay, now because see, I'm not detailing his, you see, his means, his theory of means and ends, his concept of Swaraj, his concept of parliamentary democracy, his concept of Satyagraha and Ahimsa, all these things, he will be there. So questions on his ideas on economy, his ideas on Sarvodaya, his theory of trusteeship, uh, and concept of Swadesi, all the things in a you will you have on Gandhi you have lot many questions, bro. Uh, so there will be some deductive question like critically examine the philosophical foundations of Gandhiji. or Gandhiji's political philosophy uh, analyze and discuss the political philosophy of Gandhiji, Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi. Uh, Gandhian economics has its own distinctive feature of Indianness, with Indianness, and from below, critically examine. Highlight the Gandhian concept of economy, economic equality, and Swadeshi. Or you can also and comment on Gandhi's views on means, ends justifying means. End means unity or theory of means and ends. Discuss Gandhiji's views on truth and non-violence. One critical question also many often arises: do the present day village panchayats meet the requirements of Gram Swaraj? You have today, after the second 73rd constitutional amendment, and the so-called the democratic decentralization is nothing but is clearly enshrined with the vision of Gandhi's Gram Swaraj, village democracy, and today's decentralized governance, local self-government, both rural and urban, and the village are the basic units of the democracy, democratic unit. Basic units of the democracy constitutes the the fabric of the Indian democracy, and there is the Gram Swaraj concept has been materialized with that. So this is none but their Gandhi's concept. And another question you can also encounter, and you may get in your examination: explain the uses of power according to Mohandas Gandhi, Karamchand Gandhi, and Gandhi's views on Gandhi's views on truth and non-violence is the sum total of his political ideas and philosophy, and attaining good for the society. And you can also, at the same time, can have a question. Discuss Gandhi's views on religion and its relationship with politics. Do religion juxtapose to politics, or politics and religion can go together, or religion should be separated from politics? So Gandhi's views on religion and politics and is inseparable. So make a critical comment on that. So, and Unit 8, Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, that we'll teach in the next. We'll discuss about Nehru's political and uh, philosophy and ideas in the next class. Because I have came from the zone directly without having a break and continue. So should we stop today and we'll continue, and I will take another 1 hour more in that day? Hello?
Okay, sir, no problem.
Okay. How we will cover this? So see, after four more units are there: 11, 12, 15, and 16th unit. So after completing that, then we'll ask the people give us a question answer discussion session. Give a link so that apart from calling me, and you can also we can go for a question answer discussion session. Okay, thank you.
Okay, sir.
Okay, thank you. We can leave now.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Is the class, is it okay? Because, see, I was there in the plus two valuation in the BJP college, and I was the chief examiner there. So directly I came, and because, so by shooting my the time there, so I wanted to give you, because last class also because of the valuation work, I know asked them to change to another date. So this class also I am a little bit in a hurry, in a hectic. So we'll cover the remaining part in the next class. Thank you.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.